This morning is going to be a very interesting topic, and I'm going to say it to you early on just because I don't know you. You don't know me. So if I say something that offends you, you need to get over it because I don't know you. All right, so just to be clear, if you say something to me like calling me from Wisconsin, I'm not going to be offended because Sue doesn't know me that well. So it's not going to be like wreck my day. So it didn't offend me that she did that, even though she apologized. But there's some things that I might bring up that might come very close to your house. And you might be like, are you talking about me? Remember, I don't know you. All right, so I'm just talking about more about my experience. So here's what my expectations are for you. I want you to have a chance to dream today. Today is about you. So think about that when your organization of baseball players go down in spring training and the players are like, oh, I hate being here. Spring training is all about them, getting them ready for the season. Professional development is all about teachers, getting them ready for kids coming back to class. And how many of us are really excited about professional development? Some of you are so excited you brought absolutely nothing with you. Nothing. And so I'd love to stay up at the high school for next week and just have like some kids show up to class with nothing. No books, no pens, no nothing. And be like, what are you doing? I'm here to learn. I'm a visual learner. I got my phone. Because what I want you to know is that we're a product of our environment. I also challenge you to connect with 5 new people. 5 new people you do not know. That is very difficult for educators. They have their pack. They travel to the bathrooms in their pack. They travel out to eat in their packs. They travel everywhere. They'll go to the same food trucks today, even though you don't want the same food. You're just going to go with everyone because that's where everyone's going. Others of you are just going to go in your car. You don't want to be around anybody. Just like, you know what, everyone's annoying. But I challenge you to meet some new people. Be happy knowing this work is very difficult, but it should be fulfilling. If it's not, resign. Retire. It's not getting easier. There's not a flu shot coming that's going to change it. This is what we're in. We're in education. And if you don't love what you do, life is short. Use social media to highlight some of your learning today. Hashtag Fairborn. Hashtag Skyhawks. Whatever you use. Why don't educators use social media around learning? Kids? It's the kids' fault? Why is it the kids' fault? I've never heard that. My music's so pretty. Why do adult educators not use social media for learning? So there's a thing called Twitter, and you can follow other teachers that teach what you teach, and you can learn from them, but teachers will go to Pinterest. We will look at pictures. We will go to Teacher Pay Teacher. Today is all about your learning. And if you celebrate your learning in a positive way on these type of social media, people will get excited about what you're doing. Now, if you're not on any of those, that's okay. But as we talk about positives to negatives, how are you doing? Are you comfortable in your shoes? Every single day when I was a principal, I wore matching shoes to my shirt. My wife says this doesn't match, but I wear my purple shoes today. Why do I wear comfortable shoes that match my shirt? It's baller. Kids like it. You know, kids love shoes. Some of my most difficult kids love shoes. Parents will look at me and say, Mr. Slater, you have tennis shoes on. You're a principal. Like, yeah, and they're comfortable. My feet don't hurt. I wear shoes because I'm comfortable in my shoes. I don't wear dress shoes because I'm not comfortable in dress shoes. I challenge you to teach how you're comfortable. And we sometimes have to ask ourselves, are we comfortable in our learning? So I would love to learn with you. Here's some of the hashtags about today. Believe me, some of you are not going to jump on board with this, but here's all the ways to connect with me. See, this is the next generation. They're taking pictures of the screen. Some of you are writing down as fast as you can go, and I'm going to click, and it's over. But people are actually using their phones, because here's the other thing I recognize. Today, it is okay to be a blurter in my session. I love blurters. I like blurters better than I like people sitting there with their arms crossed all the time just staring at you. It's awkward. I'd rather have you blurt something out. So try to get involved. You need to know my story. A little bit about what you heard is that I work with a company called Ignited Consulting. We go around the country helping school districts with different things. In my past life, I was a full-time principal, and also I was a PBIS, MTS, RTI trainer. You need to find someone?
Yeah,
Gloria? Hey, it's all right. See how people say sorry? Like, I'm the one that said, hey, you need something? Sorry. Why do we say sorry all the time? Yeah, sorry. I love it. Educators say sorry all the time. This is what they said. Hey, can I ask a question? And they just go right into the question. Well, why did you ask? If you could ask a question, you're just going to go right into it. And so usually when people say, can I ask a question? I say no. They're like, what? Well, no, you asked. Can I go to the bathroom? No. What? Why not? Well, because you asked. You have to go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom. There's a process and procedure to go to the bathroom. I don't want to talk to kids all day about going to the bathroom. So when we talk about this is what you need to know. Full-time principal for 25 years, principal of the year last year for Minnesota, and every single day, I was still fighting this battle of understanding what culture is of a school. And what I can tell you is this, I came from a dysfunctional home. Now we all have dysfunction. Don't want to tell you what yours is, but we all have it, okay? Mine was just very severe. So I had a dad that was an alcoholic, and he was physically abusive to my mom and me. I have a brother and 2 sisters. He was never physically abusive to my older brother or my 2 sisters. But he was verbally abusive to my older brother. I was the type of kid that's always been big and strong, so I could take the whoopings. My brother couldn't. So he was verbally abusive to my brother. My brother is a drug addict. My brother's been through treatment 8 times. He's still using today because of his childhood. For me, the physical abuse was there, and yet my butt hurt, and it was gone. But I brought all of that dysfunction to school every day. And there's nothing you could do, or you could do, or you could do that was what my dad would do. So I didn't have a lot of respect for adults because I didn't think they cared. Do you know who was the first person in my life that I felt cared about me? Doug, my bus driver. He could see in the mornings the welt on my face. He could see in the mornings that I wasn't playing with the other kids. And he'd say, Mr. Slater, he'd always call me Mr. Slater. Mr. Slater, you sit in the front seat, I want to talk to you when we get to school. He goes, I need you to help me clean the bus today. So as I cleaned the bus with him, he talked to me. He said, today you have a choice. To be a positive leader or a negative leader. Which one are you going to be? Doug was a savior for me. And that started early on. Then all of a sudden I got where I was bigger, and I started to go to wrestling matches with my grandma. So we go to church on Sunday and then right to AWA. Now, if you guys don't know what AWA is the American Wrestling Association. It was WWE on steroids. It hit all the small towns in Minnesota. Vern Gagne, the Crusher, Hulk Hogan, all of those. Those were the characters. So I would go to that on a Sunday night and watch Vern Gagne put Jimmy Snuka in the sleeper hold. And what do you talk about the next day? You talk about the wrestling match. And you say to someone, oh my gosh, I was watching Vern Gagne put the slipper on Jimmy Snuka, and what do people say about wrestling? Oh, right there. Right there. That's all it took. She said it's fake. Stand up. I'll give you the sleeper hold. And that's exactly what happened. Troy maybe on the bus says, hey, Mr. Slater, it's fake. I'm like, no, it's not. He says, yes, it is. I was like, put it on me. I'm like, all right. I jumped on his back. I put him in the sleeper hold. 8 seconds later, I let go. What happens? Boom. Knocks him out. Hits his head on the fire door because I actually was choking him. I didn't know how to put the sleeper on. It is fake. But I didn't realize it was fake. So I put it on him tight because I was like, this better work. And oh my gosh, it worked. He falls down, hits his head, 8 stitches. What happens to me? In trouble. I'm suspended. Do you know how confused I was in 4th grade? I went to a wrestling match the night before. People paid thousands of dollars. Vern Gagne was on TV on Channel 9 at 9 a.m. How am I getting in trouble for what they're doing? How was I getting in trouble going on the playground, taking my belt off, giving kids lickings that were taking the balls away from other people when that was the culture of my environment? And I brought that every single day. So as you can imagine, I was a kid you didn't want in your class. I was a kid that would tell you you have coffee breath and your breath stinks, so stop talking to me. I was a kid that mimicked teachers that were mean. Do you know how I knew a teacher was mean? Because they acted like my dad. And they were verbally abusive. And I had a teacher in 7th grade, and she'd walk around with these sorrel boots on, social studies teacher, and she'd have a ruler, get to work, packet after packet. I mean, we were just, I can't believe how many trees we cut down that year. Packet, get to work. So guess what happened? She went to go get her 3rd cup of coffee. I put her extra pair of sorrel boots on. Class is dying laughing. Dying. What happens? She comes back in, and where am I? About 3rd row in. Kids are all laughing. Some of you aren't laughing, but it's funny. What happens then? Where did I go? Office. In my sorrel boots that weren't even mine. So I show up in the principal's office with my teacher, who has sorrel boots on. I have sorrel boots on. He's like, what the hell's going on? And I'm like, I don't know, I'll just act like she was. Guess what he did? Started laughing. Because he knew there was packet after packet every day, and it was it was this, and she never smiled. But guess what happened to me? Got suspended. That one hurt though. Because the day I got suspended there, I also got kicked off the basketball team. Yeah, made no sense to me. Made no sense to me. I didn't get my packet done for math class, but I couldn't go out for recess. So I always freaked out in college. So I was worried that if I didn't get my assignment done in math class, I'd take basketball. So I went and played college basketball. But I found it interesting, like, how did it tie into anything? It didn't make any sense to me. So this is what I want you to know. When you see kids come in, when you see your colleagues come in, when you run into that person in the community, please don't judge them, because they are fighting a battle you know nothing about. And each of you are fighting your own battle. Life is hard. I don't know you, but there's a virus going around. People are losing their minds. You think they're losing their minds around here? You should go to the airport in Seattle. Losing their minds. Running. Like it's like we're all, and where's it coming from? It's coming from the media. And so, yes, is there a virus? Yes. Is there also a flu? My wife works in the ER. Do you know how many people have died of the flu this year? 10,000. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about something else that's just freaking us all out. And so my question comes back to you is, this is what's going on with our kids. And it's going on with our kids because it's happening to our adults. We have families that are making it barely paycheck to paycheck. We have families living in their vehicles. We have moms and dads that are getting divorced. We have kids coming to school that the first person they see is the bus driver and the last person they see is the bus driver. The bus drivers in here should be like, understand that they are superheroes to kids. Because some of those kids, it is their one opportunity to see someone one-on-one. Because it doesn't always happen in your schools. Here's just a quick stat. These are, the bottom line is the number of ER visits that have happened in the last 10 years. The orange line is the number of ER visits of juveniles that are coming in because they've tried to commit suicide. Epidemic going on. Why are kids trying to commit suicide? Hopeless. Not good at school, don't have a strong family life, it resonates with me. There's many times the only person I'd hear that I was a good person was from educators. It usually was when I was in the office, sent out of another class, it was my last year's teacher, they'd be like, glad you're not in the class, but you're a good kid, have a good day. Off they run. Belonging. 40% of our students right now are saying they do not feel like they belong. How many of you feel like you belong? How many of you, if you said, hey, I could go to any school, I could go do any job, this is the job you pick. This is the school you pick. We have choices as adults. Kids don't have a lot of choices. So when we start talking about this, here's the other thing. We talk about media. 9-year period. There's a magazine. Newsstand sales on magazines. If it was negative, you can see the sale. If it was positive. Is that what happens in your teacher's lounge? We're talking about negative stuff. Everyone's engaged. They're talking about, hey, how great the district is and all the prizes they got for us and how much they support us. And God, we have some great custodians. And I just love how yellow our buses are. They must have got paint jobs. And we're just positive. People are like, oh, I agree with you. I love the yellow buses too. It really looks nice. Versus, oh, I got a speeding ticket this morning. You didn't. Over on 45th? Yes. Oh, I got one last week. I don't know what the hell they're doing. I mean, there's other things they can be pulling people over for, but no, speeding's a big deal. I had my seatbelt on. I don't know what the big deal was. I agree with you. Really feel bad for you. You shouldn't feel bad. They're speeding. But we say that just like she said sorry to me, even though I said she could talk, because we want to feel like it's okay. So my question is when you leave your school, is it a more positive experience or more negative? And I'm not asking you, I'll ask your significant other or your spouse, your dog, your cat, your kids. Do you like your job? Or does your wife just say, stop? We're not there. I'm not talking about this. Because here's what I know. My wife, I love her to death. 25 years. Our oldest is getting married August 1st, and there's a problem. It's an outdoor venue. August 1st game, 2020, outdoor venue. What do you think she's worried about? Stephen Covey will talk about the circle of concern is in the green, and the circle of orange is what we actually have control over. So what do you think my wife is worried about? And I keep telling her, stop. Weather. You guys are locked right in the other group. Maybe I just said the story better. I don't know. It's a better story. Better enough. See, thanks for the feedback. So when we talk about weather, they're wrong tomorrow about the weather. How can we already be worried about the weather on August 1st? My question to you is when you have people that are worried about stuff, just say, hey, remember Stephen Covey? That's a circle of influence. Don't worry about it. Because we're going to focus on the circle of influence, not the concern. So what are some of the concerns that worry educators that we have no control over? Family involvement, class list, which kids are getting off the bus? Whatever kids get off the bus, that's our customer. None of us get to drive around and say, I like that house, I'll take those. That one over there, not that neighborhood, let's move on, go over there. But then yet we'll complain. So here's the hardest thing. This is where I usually offend people. You are perfectly aligned to get what you're getting in your classroom and in your school. The issues that you have in your school are totally different than the issues in Minnesota, Seattle, California. They're different. The issues in your district are totally different than just 2 districts over. Do you know why? Because the adults are in charge of it. You create it. Just like at home. You are perfectly aligned to get the marriage you have, the house you have, the family you have, around what you're putting into the system. And that's where it gets a little bit difficult. So this whole circle of influence, what can you control about yourself? Because that's the only person you can control. We like to control our neighbor. We like to control our dog, not eating our shoes. And we can train them, but we can't control them. And that's where some people think that we can control kids' behaviors. I want you to know you can't. What you have to do is figure out the function of the behavior, and then we have a chance to help them fix it. So we have things like happen like this. That's not from here. Life happens though. Crazy things happen. I'm glad you guys can laugh about it. The district where I took this picture, they weren't laughing. They're like, can you believe it? I'm like, yeah, they're kids. I'm just glad it wasn't a staff member. You know, it would have been a little bit more awkward. My question to you today is, how are you doing? Because here's what we know about the research. Gottman did a study, interviewed 700 newlywed couples around staying together, and here's what they found out. Based on 15 minutes of time with that couple, they could predict 94% accuracy if they would stay married in 10 years. Could have saved them a lot of money. 15 minutes game. And it was all based on their speech, positive interactions with each other. So when schools talk about 5-to-1, why there's this 5-to-1 ratio, this is where it comes from. That this is what we need. And so all of a sudden we look at the research, this is what we need in marriages, this is what business teams need. What do you think educators need? It's a little bit lower. That surprised me. I thought it should be a little bit higher. Someone's like, they need to do the study again. It's wrong. Kids are changing. Times are changing. So as we talk about this, my question to you is, what would your family, what would your neighbor, what would your colleagues say about you? Because here's what I usually say. How many of you have a fixed mindset? Don't raise your hand. This is the awkward time. How many of you have a fixed mindset? And I've never had anyone, when I ask the next question, how many of you have a growth mindset? Everyone raises their hands. But then when I say, okay, we're going to do this little activity, we're going to put stars on each other's backs, how many of you know a colleague that has a fixed mindset? Put the star on their back. You feel like, this is going to be awkward. I'm like, all right, but if someone doesn't even know that they have a fixed mindset, they think they have a growth mindset, that's like me thinking I'm short when I'm tall. You know, when I go into someone, I'm like, yeah, I need a size 30, 24 waist. Like, no, you don't. Like, I think I do. Where there's confusion. So when we talk about this, my question to you is, what is your ratio? What do other people say about you when you're not around? Are you a positive person? Because here's what I know. You're either a positive person or you're a negative person. There's no average. This morning I said hi to several people. All right? Some people said hi to me before I saw them. Others do this. This is a weird thing you guys do. You go like this. You kind of tilt your head. I'm not sure why they tilt their head, but some people just kind of see me and they go, and they walk by me. And so then what I'd say to them is I'd say good morning, and you could see like 2 steps later it was processing, and then they go, good morning. And they keep walking. So what I could say is it's not a natural thing to greet people. So my question is how many kids can walk by you or your staff in the morning without having someone greet them? Because when we don't greet people, what are we actually saying to them? Hey, you don't matter. And when we have trauma-informed kids, and we have kids that are coming from abusive homes, and you say nothing to them, they start internalizing like, I don't even matter. And it all is because of our phones. It used to be that when people went by each other, they would wave. It used to be when you're in a lobby with a group of other parents, you'd interact with them. Now everyone's swiping left, up, down, right, forward, playing their game on their phone. Human action is going down. Human connection should be coming closer together. We should be more connected than ever, and we're actually becoming farther and farther disconnected with each other personally. So as we talk about these things, my question is that what is your love language? And we call it the school work language. Do you guys know what this is? Do you know what yours is? Are you a words person, a gifts, quality time, acts of service, or touch? HR doesn't want me to talk about touch, so that's why I talk about touch, okay? So, and if you're like looking at the screen going, I'm kind of all of them, you're just needy, all right? So just accept it. You're a needy person. Your kids and your spouse and your family can tell you how needy you are, but some of you will say, I'm none of them. I don't need this. Well, human science says you do, and that we all have it somewhere. My question is positive school. Do you have a positive school? How would you know? Do you ever think I walked in and asked a group of educators, hey, do you guys have a positive district? People are like, no, we don't. They might think it in their head, but they don't verbalize it. Do you have a positive classroom? No. Do you love your family? No. Do you like your dog? No. The question is that I'm not asking you. I want to ask the guest teachers that were in your building yesterday. Is it a positive place? Would you want to work there? They get to be in a variety of schools. I call them guest teachers. I don't call them subs. Why do I not call them subs? Huh? Make sounds of less than? I don't know how to talk to a kid because kids don't understand subs. So I can teach kids in a PBIS school how we treat guests. Could be a guest teacher, a guest classmate, someone here that is a guest. I can teach people how to treat people as a guest. But subs, we don't walk around saying, hey, are you a sub? Wouldn't that be interesting walking into your doctor's office? I haven't seen you before. Are you a sub? Awkward. So when a student struggles, where does the problem reside? In the student or in the environment? What do you think we like to say as parents? When my child struggles, I have 3 of them. My son's 6'9", size 18 shoe. He thinks he's all that, 21 years old. Do you know what his summer job was? Golf ball hunting. Do you know how annoyed I was? Come home from work, he's on my couch, eating my Doritos with my remote. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm napping. I'm like, it's 3:30. I know I'm going golf ball hunting, Dad. Tonight. So you have to go at night. That's when golfers are there. Do you know how much money he made golf ball hunting? $10,000 in 3 months. Yeah, $10,000. So guess who was eating crow? Yeah, a lot of balls. Oh yeah, you should see it. He made this little, probably could sell it to someone. He made this little, he loves to fish, so he made this net that he goes down and he scoops it. And it is crazy. So now I'm thinking like, you should get a job at Burger King. And like, Dad, I made 10 grand and the government doesn't know about it. I'm like, good job, Austin. So I'm going to show you a picture and I'm going to ask you, where does the problem reside? I appreciate for some of you, it's the first time you smiled since you got here, so that's good. Well, let me tell you about the picture. This is a first day picture of a classroom. First day, and the teacher says to them, like, hey, I need to get ready for open house next week. I want to take a class picture. We'll do a serious one, and then I want you to do something that will make me laugh. So the teacher says to this group of kids, do something that makes me laugh, and all of a sudden, this is what the students do. So my question to you is, does the problem reside in the student or the environment? The environment. The teacher said, do something that would make me laugh, had no idea that Uncle Josh, when they go down I-90 from southern Minnesota, from South Dakota to Wisconsin, just, you know, Minnesota people hate Packer fans. So every time that Josh would see someone with a Packer sticker in the window, he would tell Hank to flick them off. He was flicking people off in the car, and what did most of you do when you saw it? You laughed. It's a learned behavior. All of our energy goes to Hank. All of our time, it goes to show everyone, look at the picture. Look what just happened in my class. Can you believe this happened? What should I do? Send him to the office. He wrecked my whole photo. The worst part about this teacher didn't even see it. So caught up. No. Puts it on her door to walk into her classroom. Yeah. And it wasn't until the principal said, hey, let's do a gallery walk and see how the rooms are all set up that her colleagues can walk by. Like, you're going to have that picture? She's like, yeah, isn't it great? Like, don't you? Oh my gosh. Now what do we want? We go to Costco, we blow it up, and now it's on our wall. Now we want blood. Like, you wrecked everything, Hank. But it's a learned behavior. How many of you, though, spend all of your time with the Hanks and you don't recognize the 3 girls in the back? In high school and middle school, we call it defiant. I ask them to do something, and they're doing nothing. They don't even know what to do. But we miss them. We miss them because all of our attention goes to the Hanks of the class. When Hank has a function for his behavior, we just need to dig a little bit deeper, talk about school expectations versus Uncle Josh expectations, and you know what? We are not going to be able to change Uncle Josh. But we have the ability to influence Hank in our classroom, talking about what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. And did this wreck anyone's world? No. The teacher thought about it. When she remembers what she said, she totally understands that when we respond to students' needs and manage their behaviors, sometimes we set them up for failure. Expecting all of you to get to this building on time this morning was a problem. Why was that a problem? Because what was the start time? 7:55, right? You can give you a half an hour cushion and donuts. How many of you are like, I don't want a frickin' donut? But how many of you, if you put donuts in your classroom and told the kids, if you're in class on time, you get donuts, they'll be on time. So it just shows you as we get older, things don't get that excited anymore. So as we talk about this, how is your relationships with staff going? What is the culture of your building? And I ask this because I know adults impact other adults. How many of you will not go to the teacher's lounge to eat because you know it will be a negative experience? How many of you get to class and you shut the door because you know that you just don't want to hear any more about the wedding? You don't care what baby moment they have, you just want to be left alone. Because here's what I know. When we as adults start to do things differently, things change. But as we continue to do the same things, we should expect the same results. So some people say, hey, it's not my job. So when we say not my job, what happens? Just imagine this in front of your house. Everyone's coming over for the wedding. And you have to try to explain this. Can you explain this? Do you ever think that there's things that we do in schools where people look and say, really? That's what we do? Do you know what makes you tick? What could happen today? For some of you, now I'm just going to speak. Remember, I don't mean to offend any of you. But for some of you, seeing that yellow tape in the back pissed you off. Some of you, that's your spot. This is the first district I've been to where they were smart enough to rope it off. Because usually, I was in a district, and this is no lie, this whole group would have piled up back there. And I started, and this whole section was wide open, and they would have piled up in the back. Why does that happen? Yeah, she's all right. Yeah. You're trying to get out, you don't have to pick up water, so it's all right. All right, so why does that happen? Why do educators sit in the back? Why do educators not bring anything to professional development? Why? There has to be a function to it. The last group, they were honest. They said, you get out quicker. So I told the superintendent, from here on out, we're going to dismiss you out of the exits out front, and it will change everyone's behavior. Do you think it's going to change everyone's behavior? No. Some of you sit in the back exactly why kids sit in the back. Why do kids sit in the back of some of our high school classrooms? They want to be left alone. We have to acknowledge that. Where do you teach from, the front or the back? Now, for some of you, this could make you upset. I love talking about relationships. I can name all my teachers off. So last year, I was principal of the year in Minnesota. Guess what I got to do? I got to go back to my schools that I went to, and I got to invite my teachers back. Most of them had their mouth wide open. I had to shut it several times. I was suspended 16 times in my career in the Hennepin schools. I was blamed for the largest food fight in the history. Yeah, I didn't even do anything. I stood up and this girl threw a pancake, hit me in the chest, and the food fight started, but it was my fault that I stood up. I can tell you that they were shocked, but what I've learned through all of this is that I didn't learn from people that I didn't think cared. And I still don't today. I don't know how many of you went by, gentlemen opening the door for us and out in the front, but I stopped. I thanked them. They were shocked. This just freaks me out. This is my church bell. That's my time, isn't it? Well, I just want to get through one last couple slides here. Here's what I want you to know. Some of you think discipline versus instruction is what's happening in our schools right now. Because of the discipline that's happening, we cannot teach. And I'm telling you, you need to change your mind. Discipline is instruction. The word discipline means to teach and learn. Discipline is not given out by an office, by a para, by an administrator. Discipline is teaching our expectations and making sure kids learn discipline. Where are my coaches in the room? I have to teach discipline. You have to teach what to do when someone calls a technical on you in a basketball game. What do you do in this situation when someone does this? How do you strike out in baseball? That's why I love to watch Little League World Series. Because the coaches that teach discipline, those kids grab the bat, they run off the field, they hang their bat up, they might cry with their teammates, but they don't kick dirt on the ref. They don't throw their bat. It's discipline. So when we talk about this, what we have to understand is some of our mind shift has to change around discipline. Because this was my experience. Second grade, I met my first girlfriend because of the dunce hat. Do you know what she wanted to know about the dunce hat? Because I had to wear the dunce hat in second grade. Do you know what she wanted to know? First time I talked to her, Jill Olsen. She was amazing. Second grade. Do you know what she said? Kurt, how heavy is it? I'm like, it's heavy. It was a positive experience. Still haven't found any research why you have to wear dunce hats, but I'm still. So then I moved to the corner. Then as you got in middle school, was the corner. That was a good discipline. Got to high school, hallway. Sit in the hallway. I could never figure it out. Like I lost recess over packets. I couldn't figure out how I didn't even tie into it. I couldn't remember why sitting in the hallway with all my other friends getting kicked out of the class was a good idea, but that's what they did to us. And now I get to see this, the new version of the dunce hat. If this worked, if it worked, gang, they would make this for administrators and they would hang it in your school for adults. And each of you would have a clothespin, and as you struggled, we would move you up, and as you did the good things, we would move you down. And we would all be like, oh my gosh, you've been at Red a long time. What you doing? Would this work for you? Would this work for you at home with your spouse? Honey, I have this great idea. I'm going to give you a clothespin, and we're going to make a chart, and when you're making me feel good, you're going to move down, and when you're not, you're going to move up. And then at lunchtime, we'll start all over again. Doesn't that sound like fun, hon? Does this work? It does. Do you know why it does? The same reason the dunce hat does. It scares the living crap out of 80% of your students that don't need it because they never want to move up. And the one kid that moves up, he dwells on it. Like, God, it took me till 11:30 to get down to punishment today. I got to work on my game. Because kids will start to dwell on where I'm at. Kids want to be recognized. They don't care if it's positive or negative. But I'm telling you, a clip chart doesn't work. You know why it doesn't work? Because discipline works for all human beings. What works for kids will also work for adults. But as we get older, donuts don't excite adults. But if we were giving away larger items like a new car, might stop down. So when we talk about this, you have to ask yourself what motivates you. Because this is not good classroom management. And I'm sorry if you use it, but I can already tell you that I know it's wrong because the studies are already out that kids are being traumatized, and it's most of the kids that don't even need a clip chart. But they're so worried that the teacher is going to move them, and then their mom and dad are going to find out on Facebook from their other daughter that came home. So what is a clip chart at the high school level? Those are lunch detentions, don't work. ISS doesn't work. Time does not heal any wound. Time does not change any behavior. So you guys were all a little bit late this morning. I'm going to hold you guys for 10 minutes till the food trucks are almost out of food. No, I really am. And we'll see how many of you like it. I hope you all learned your lesson. Because this group is really struggling. I just want you, a whole group. How does that feel? Doesn't feel good, does it? And that's what happens in schools when I hear people calling other people out. I'll call adults out in sessions like this that are on their phone, grading papers. How does it go? Just like that. So this is how it goes, gang, when we talk about time. When I hear educators say, we are not doing the next thing until you all stop talking, you better be ready for moments like this. Some of your kids are going to be like, it's not a big deal. Am I out of time? Is that what the dog is? It's so wrong. I want to show you guys, I do want to say, I'm only here in front of you because I had amazing educators along the way. I should be a stat in a prison, and I should be seeing someone saying, you know, what happened to you? And I can tell them my story because everything that happened with the ACE test and where I should be and I'm not, because of the bus drivers, the teachers, the parents, the cooks, everyone at my school. I would show up every day. I would be there on days off. I would have been there today for you. I would be like, can I carry something in? You'd like, just go home. I'm like, I don't want to go home. Because you make a difference. You wear a cape every single day under your shirt, but you have the opportunity to be a superhero, or you have a chance to be kryptonite. There's no in between. And our kids, and our staff, and our community needs you more than ever to suck it up and say, we can do this. We are great people doing amazing things. So keep fighting for kids. Thank you for your time.